The amount of hard drugs that people can take it here. And I come from Mexico. There's people fucking in the clubs, and there's people that go naked, and there's areas specifically.
It was wild. I mean, people having sex on the dance floor in the corners, drugs everywhere.
The most asked question I would say is, how do I dress to get in? Like, sorry for the language, but very ass grabby.
Because it's crazy to get in. I mean, even
And do you have any particular recommendations?
We were in almost all of them.
How would you describe the clubbing culture here in Berlin?
Am I allowed to answer first this?
Okay, yes.
The truth for us is like we are not like very clubbing people, but we visit the big ones, and we have like our first club here was Berghain. Like normally the people take time to go inside. For us was very easy. Go Sunday and midday. At that moment, just say like very easy. So in my case, was like, whoa, this is so cool that you are so free to do whatever you want here, and the people is not gonna look at you. This is the real definition of freedom for me. Just going in a club, you can do whatever you want to do. Just always have like, don't disturb the next people that is behind you, and they just take care each other. This is very nice too. The people in the clubbing just take care, like, hey, you have maybe too much drugs, you feel okay? Just some people asking to other people, are you okay? Everything is okay? You need something? Well, this is water, drink a little water. This is impressive.
Yeah.
And we were in KitKat, in Wilde Renate, in almost
the
all of them. What I recently noticed is there is more drugs, and that makes the environment a little more heavy, because it's not the kind of drugs that when we start to clubbing that the people just start dancing and you moving, that you look at like more, like kind of angry or kind of heavy environment around. And I noticed that, let's be honest, also is the only city that I know in the world that you can take your drugs to taste in laboratories that pay it from the government. This is crazy, and the people don't understand this concept. It's like they are not legal, but the government is gonna tell you this is good thing that you can put it in your body. This is not good that you put it in your body.
It could be very different from what I experienced in my country or in Russia. I usually find going to clubbing intimidating and kind of dangerous thing. But in Berlin, it's more accessible. You can dance, you can do whatever you want. People start arriving at clubs at 2 at night. Very late, they go out of the club like in the morning.
These drugs everywhere. The amount of hard drugs that people can take it here. And I come from Mexico, like we don't use too much drugs, we just sell it, put it in the States and around the world. It's true. This is the part of the thing of happening in Mexico. And that's the funny thing about the club. Everyone is friendly because everyone is in drug. Like you can make a lot of new people in the clubs. But the techno thing is beautiful.
It's an experience, really. I've never been in a place that you party and club like in Berlin. It's another story. Some months ago, we were in Spain, and I told Guillermo, like, what is this? This is a disco, really? This is a club? I can't consider anymore partying without techno and without being kinky.
What do you mean by kinky? I mean, for
I don't
people
know.
watching.
You need to dress up. Like, you can't go dressed like this. There are some dress codes. Like, not in Spain, you need to go like very posh and with high heels and look pretty. Here, it's like, can I see some of your skin? Okay, you are allowing. That's a silly example, but I don't know.
Come on, just fuck in the clubs. There are people
I didn't
fucking in the
want to
clubs,
say that.
Like, sorry, it's an interview,
That's
but
getting interesting.
I
there is
didn't want to
there's
say.
people fucking in the clubs, and there's people that go naked, and there is areas specifically. There are parties for sharing love, if you want to call it like that. Like there is specific
Lust.
rooms that the people are like masturbating or fucking or watching another people or BDSM. The scenario of BDSM here is like, you want kinky things? Remember that time in the bus?
I had to try it when I first got here because I'd heard so much about it. So I went to Berghain, which is not far from here, and I did go to the KitKat Club. And this is where the Germans break out of their box, and it's no holds barred. I was told I would never get past the doorman, but you've heard the voice. I just went to the doorman. I said, "Excuse me." And I pushed him to the side and walked on in. This was Berghain and KitKat, because I sound like I'm someone you should not argue with. It was wild. I mean, people having sex on the dance floor in the corners, drugs everywhere. It was not exactly my kind of scene. Also, obviously I'm over 35, and for the most part, it's a very young scene. For the most part, not completely, but for the most part.
We were in the bus, like taking the 49, and there was a convention of latex in Berlin.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how interesting I think is the world to see kids, a bunch of kids, like 10 of them with a ball that they come out or they are gonna go to play, and behind them 4 or 5 persons full dresses in latex with like
the high
high heels, cover the face, like, and the kids are like the most normal because it's Berlin, because the kinkiness of Berlin is the most normal thing. There's a lot of places that sell clothes for clothing that is just one stripe, and they charge you 100 euros.
I've been to a lot of different countries and a lot of clubs, and then like the bouncers, for example, are like very friendly to you, and you would expect that they will let you in and you just go in, and here it's totally different. Here you have to make a big line and it might be that the bouncer says today you're not going in, even though you may have already tickets, or maybe you were going to get the tickets and stuff like that. But the Berlin club scene is mostly, I would say, techno based. So whatever club you go in Berlin, you will find techno music. Maybe hard techno, dark techno. I've now been to one of the main famous ones in Berlin. I'm not gonna say the name, but everybody knows it because it's crazy to get in. I mean, even if you wait for 2 hours, you're gonna get rejected. But I like as well that most of them, they don't have close time. They just say, okay, well, open end till 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, which when I was young, I used to do it a lot. And another thing that I found interesting is that some of the old factories or old places, they have converted them into clubs. Like I went to one the other day it's actually on the underground. It was maybe an old factory or something, laboratory or something, and then they converted it into club.
Berlin is like no one judged you on the club. You can do whatever you want. In Berghain, I saw one guy that was in his knees walking and just come to you and say like, "Can I lick your shoes?" And I say like, "Not today, thank you. Maybe tomorrow." Like, and the people is like, "Oh yeah," he like that. He can enjoy that,
And people is very polite. There are a lot of signs like no is no, or consent is sexy, and just they ask and you say no, and people go. And not having phones, not having photographs of that, it's also very cool because you are living the moment. You don't live for Instagram or for showing off,
And
for
there is no
yourself
evidence.
and enjoying it.
Yeah,
And there
no
is
one is watching you.
Of
So
course, there is no evidence. That's freedom as
freedom.
well, of course.
you can find party in Berlin, kinky partying from Monday to Monday, 24 hours. You just need to knock the perfect door and
And not the perfect people and the private ones, and that's what I've been told.
I used to go clubbing when I was younger and before COVID actually, because the whole climate of clubbing was different before COVID. The club is there, it looks the same, but doesn't feel as open as it used to feel. The three aspects of it. So there's the techno thing, which is the most common ones, and then we have this 90s, 80s pop. Then we have this international mix clubs such as more Oriental, Turkish, Arabic influenced clubs. Also, appeal to more LGBTQI clubbing scene. So there are overlaps in between, which I really enjoy. So you don't really have to compartmentalize yourself into one group. Sometimes it overlaps and it helps you discover another aspect of the city life and clubbing life.
I would say perhaps Berghain and KitKat are probably the most famous clubs in Berlin. What would you say is special about them?
It's hype. I mean, sound system in Berghain, amazing. The freedom, amazing. Everyone is bringing something. It's adding something to the party. So it's not like just viewers. Everyone is part of the party and giving something extra to the party. Otherwise, you are not in the vibe, and mostly they won't allow you in.
For me, Berghain is more about like the sound system. I never heard like sound system like that. That techno just move you. That music move you. You don't need to move. The respect in these places is. We come from Spain or from Mexico that you are walking and someone just push you, and they start like sometimes fights or something like that. No, no, no. Here is like you're working and someone making like just simple like this. Oh, so sorry, like what's not my intention. It's like, yeah, dude, don't worry, it's okay. And it's more funny because you go like with t-shirt normally, so you just have this contact, human contact, very funny, and the people are like very chill out, something that is not happening normally outside of the club. So this kind of contact, skin to skin. I remember the first time that we were in Berghain, she told me like, this is so cool, everyone is gay here, so I can be myself and I don't have guys to come to me and tell me like, hey, how are you doing, and she was like, feel like I love this place, I can just dance and be myself without a problem.
Exactly. I come from Spain.
And I noticed, and we noticed, like in all the clubs, normally it's like that. Like the idea of go and be male, like, hey, how are you? It's not happening here. It needs to be more organic. I need to be more like, hey, how are you? It's school, are you okay? Where are you from? More easy. And not in the other clubbing that is very, just go for it.
But perhaps it might be a bit different in non-techno clubs here.
We don't know those, so.
The mainstream clubbing culture is quite exclusive and techno focused. The most asked question I would say is, how do I dress to get in? So there is this stigma around the Berlin clubbing culture that it's like you have to be a certain way and then take certain things to really enjoy this very monotonous techno music. But what I found is actually the more you are like yourself and kind of confident and vibrant, you always get in. But when I get in, I don't enjoy it too much in the techno clubs, I have to say. Like, I'm a dancer. I dance anything from like Afro styles to like hip hop or like bachata or anything. And I don't find I can do that in like those techno clubs, obviously. So what I do like to do is go to like DJ sets or go to a little bit like alternative for the Berlin scene. It's alternative, yeah. Places where they play cumbia or hip hop. But hip hop clubs are really horrible in Berlin. Why? They're very trashy, like very macho. Like, sorry for the language, but very ass grabby.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't think consent has arrived in the hip hop, club vibes. Mm-hmm. But in the techno scene, I have to say, people are very respectful. Okay. That I have to say, they have a very awareness teams and all of that stuff. Very good.
Do you have any recommendations for clubs? Any favorite clubs?
My favorite one is Ritterbutzke. It's not kinky, but you can be kinky if you want. They bring a lot of cool DJs and not necessarily just techno. Can be everything. There is this little bar that I also love in Kreuzberg. It's Bohnengold. It's just a bar where there are you enter the bar to see some tables and people smoking and drinking a beer. There is another room with more people drinking. There is another room with a futbolito.
Like this play with the football thing.
Yeah. And then there is another room,
the last one,
that you go through, and it's like a disco. And every day of the week there is a different DJ, different music, and it's for free. And it's very cool, but let's keep it secret.
I like the parties from Lunacy that they made it in Wilde Renate. It's like these parties that is you need to be customs. So they put a theme every party. They make it every 2 months. If you don't get like the right costume or you are not like providing the environment, they don't allow you to go inside. Either you have the ticket, and inside is like different. It's like 4 or 5 different stages of music, different kind of music. So you can walk in all the place. It's an old building. So imagine that you have like different ways and different rooms and stairs
and different floors. But it's a building, and it's like
And
It's very cool.
yeah, I enjoyed like the environment, and I enjoy like the people over there and the music. You can go to techno for more poppy or more like electronic or more
80s.
housey or 80s.
I wouldn't recommend Berghain. It's not worth the wait. I mean, you have to check the program whenever you go. So for Oriental and a mixture of pop and everything, Schwuz is always the one I would go to with friends. It's in Neukölln. It's huge. It's people of color friendly. It's LGBTQI friendly. It's everybody friendly. I used to like Tresor for techno.
I like Heideglühen when they have their house and hip hop nights. They have a really cool indoor area, which reminds me a little bit of an après-ski place in winter. So in winter it's also nice, but in summer it's even better because they have an outdoor area and they sometimes have concerts in combination. And that's super cool because it combines both. And very nice bouncers and also very diverse group. So very cool.